Now, as a professional web designer and content creator using WordPress, you can imagine I spin up an awful lot of WordPress websites to test things out, to fault find, to create tutorials, and so much more. Up until about 18 months ago, that was something that every single time I wanted to spin up WordPress, it would take several minutes to do. That wasn't until I bought into InstaWP from AppSumo. I bought that about 18 months ago, and it's changed how I spin things up and how I get my work done. And in this video, I wanted to show you some of the key recently added features, or the newer features since I bought into it, that really do make working with InstaWP an absolute breeze. Now, this is a sponsored video by InstaWP, but I'm going to give you no opinions. I'm simply going to demonstrate how these features work, and then you can make a more informed decision for yourself. And before we go any further, I am actually a paying customer of InstaWP. This hasn't been gifted to me. I've been paying for this, and I will continue to pay for it moving forward. So once you've logged into your InstaWP account, this is what you're going to be presented with. This is the list of all your websites. If you're new, this is going to be completely blank. Now, let me just quickly show you how quick and easy it is to actually spin up a copy of WordPress. Let's go and click on Add New. And from here, we can start from scratch or from a template, or we can visit the store. We can also use configurations, or we can just go ahead and manually choose what we want to install. Let's just go with a complete and utter vanilla setup of WordPress, and I'll come back to some of these options throughout this video. Let's click on Create a Site, and there we go. Our WordPress site is now being created. There was no speeding of anything up. That was literally how long it took, around 1 second or less. And now we can click the magic login, and it'll take us straight over to our dashboard of WordPress, and we can now start working in our new fresh copy of WordPress. Pretty cool. But now let's dig into some of the other features that make this even more powerful. Spinning up a website is cool, but there's a lot more we can do. Let's go and click on Add New, and let's take a quick look at what we have here. First of all, let's take a look at our configurations. You can see currently this is set to default, but we have other configurations inside here, multi-site, WooCommerce, and so on. But what exactly is a configuration? Well, let's just say you wanted to spin up WooCommerce with a set number of products on a specific version of WordPress, in a server location that you want to set up, and also using a version of PHP that you want to test things out on, where you can set all of those things up as a configuration, and then you can save that. Let me just show you how you create it for yourself. Let's cancel this and let's come over to the option for configurations. All we do is come to the top under your team name and click on configurations. And you can see there's the 3 configurations we just took a look at. And now inside here, we can set up various different options. We can set up the basics of what WordPress version we want. You can see we can choose from nightly builds, 6.3, right the way back down at this point in time to 3.7. You can then choose what PHP version you want. And again, we can go right the way back to 5.6. You can choose your server location, currently from 3 different places. And you can also reserve this site and add a logo should you want to. Hopping over to PHP, we can set our PHP values up inside here. Things like the execution time, maximum input time. This allows you to easily test things out based upon how your real world server may be set up, and you can configure this the same to check things work in a very similar fashion. We can also hop into WordPress. We can set things up via config. You can set your default language, your username, if you want this to be a multi-site installation. You can even go and pre-install themes, plugins, and so on from here. So you can configure this exactly the way that you want. You've also got Faker, and this is something that I really do like. This allows you to input fake information. So whenever you spin your site up, you can have some posts and some pages, or if you want to test things out on WooCommerce, you can have that set up in here as well. And you can set up products, orders, and you can set them to different values for variable products and so on. So this is basically fake content. And then all that happens is you go ahead, save that and name it and so on, and then you'll end up with a configuration like we have on the left-hand side. And then we hop over and add a new site. We can choose one of those configurations. For example, we might want WooCommerce, and we can go ahead, we can click on Create Site, and that will now go ahead, create the site with all of those options we've set up, configured exactly how we want it. So now we can simply go ahead, log into our store with our fake products and all our servers set up exactly like we wanted it to, and start working without having to spend any time doing that manually. And again, you can see it takes like a second or two and you're up and running with exactly what you need. Now you'll also notice that when we go to create a new site, we also have from template. If we open this up, you can see I've got a selection of templates. Now, once you create a site inside InstaWP, you can then save that as a template and use that again and again. You can see, for example, I've got an older version of Bricks Builder, version 1.6. I can simply click on that. Now I can go ahead, click on create that site, and that site will now have Bricks 1.6 installed and anything else that I'd set up during that process. Creating templates is incredibly simple, and they differ a little bit from those configurations. These are more sort of how you'd have things set up. For example, the theme you may have installed and activated, the plugins you may want to have installed, specific versions of WordPress, those kinds of things. You can save a kind of snapshot of that as a template, and you can use that at any time you want. And they're really, really simple to create. Let's say, for example, I've got this ACF Bricks site. I can go ahead, I can click on the Save Template option. We'll give it a name. I can go ahead, add a description in so I understand exactly what it's all about. I can set this to be private or shared so I can share it with other people. And I can set this to be an instant template. Click Save, and we have a new template created. And now if we click on Add New, come over to our templates. Inside there, you can see there's our test sample template, and we can go ahead and create our site from there. It really is incredibly simple to do. And again, just speeds up the process of creating your sites. Now, one of the things I like is version control. This allows me to easily save a snapshot of my website and create another version of it, and then I can roll back to that at any point. It's like a kind of history state, and it's very, very easy to do. Again, let's use our ACF Bricks as our example. Click our little 3 dots, and from there we're going to choose versions. As you can see, I've already created a couple of different versions. I can name those versions. I can also see when they were created, any file sizes. I can download the database, I can restore it, I can do what I need. Let's go ahead and save another version just to show how easy it is. We'll click Save Version. Depending on how big and how complex your site is, this could take from a few moments to a little bit longer. But you can see there's our latest one. Now we can go ahead, we can give this a name. So we'll just call this Sample, and we'll click Save. And we now have a new variation. And if I want to, I can simply go ahead and I can say I want to restore it back to any of these versions. So let's say I'll restore it back to this one. I can click Restore. It says, are you sure? We'll say Confirm. That will then go and restore that. Again, it'll take a few moments depending upon the size of the site. But once that's finished, then your site will revert it back to its previous state, and then you can carry on working. And you can switch back and forth between these should you need to. It's very simple and great when you want to develop a site and you want to test things out without having to worry too much about making mistakes and being able to roll back. It's really easy. Now let's say you don't want to use a configuration or you don't want to use a template, you want to start and just control what you want. Well, let's go ahead and click on Add New. As you can see, if we take a look down the left hand side, we've got popular plugins, security plugins, SEO plugins, speed, all manner of different kinds of plugins, which you can go ahead and you can install at any point during the actual setup phase. You can also choose the version of WordPress you want to use from here. You can choose the version of PHP you want to use from here. Again, you can scroll through. You can also choose the server location from here. So each one of these can be totally individual. You don't have to rely upon these templates. You can start with whatever you want. And as we start to add these in, let's say, for example, auto optimize, we'll say we want to put a backup plugin there. We'll say something like Updraft Plus. We'll say page builder. We'll say we want to put Elementor in there. And we might want to come down to a translation plugin like Weglot. You can see that now tells us we've got 4 plugins being chosen. We can easily go ahead then and we can just click on Create Site, and that will create that site with all those plugins installed. It really is incredibly simple. Let's go and create that site, and there's our site created. Again, if we magic log in, you can see there's all our plugins installed, activated, and ready to go. Now, let's just say that you want to upload a theme and a couple of plugins, but you don't want to have to log into that dashboard in WordPress. InstaWP allows you to do it directly inside your InstaWP dashboard. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I've downloaded a couple of different themes and plugins and so on. And let's say I want to just add those to that new site. I can simply drag that anywhere from my system. And you can see I can drop theme files on the left, plugin files on the right. I can just drop it. That will now go ahead, upload it, install it, activate it, and it's done. And I do exactly the same thing for theme files. There we go. After a couple of moments, that's now been uploaded. Let's go ahead and do exactly the same now for the theme that I want to use. In this example, we'll just use the Ollie theme. We'll click and drag that over, drop that on the theme file section. Let that go ahead, upload it. and we're pretty much done. And there we go. There's the extra plugin we just uploaded. And if we take a look at appearance, you can see Ollie is installed and the active theme on this particular copy of WordPress. It doesn't get much simpler than that. So let's say you've been working on a client's website, you've finished designing it, and you're ready to push that to the live URL. You can do that directly inside InstaWP. You can migrate directly from here. We click on our three dots. Inside there, you can see the option for Migrate V2. We'll click on there, and you can see we can now send this over to an existing live site, or we can create a new live site from here. We can connect our hosting app and push things over. So we have easy methods of pushing our sites over to the live domain and make them active and ready to go. I'll just pop in a test URL, one of my domains, and click on connect. That will then push us over to that site to log into our dashboard. And from there, you can see an application would like to connect to your account. Do we want to approve this connection or say no? We'll say yes, we'll approve that connection. That will then take us back over into InstaWP, and you can see that will install the InstaWP Connect plugin, which is a totally free plugin, and then you can go ahead and you can then migrate that over to your new live site. It is really simple and painless to do. As you can see, the website is now connected. We can begin that migration, and that will then allow you to track it, or we can close it and just let it do it in the background. Let's track that migration. And that will take us over to the InstaWP tracking option, and it'll show us exactly what's going on, bagging up, uploading, and then the migration progress. So we can see exactly when this is finished, and we can then go and take a look at our new site. There we go. After a short period of time, the site has now been migrated over, and we have an exact copy on our new server all set up. So logging to the dashboard, you can see all our plugins are installed. You can see everything is set up, including the theme, Ollie, and so on. Everything is installed. So we've got a direct copy migrated over for us. Really simple to do and takes a little bit of time, but it just makes the whole process super quick and easy. Now, the InstaWP Connect plugin does more than just allow you to migrate your site from the InstaWP servers over to the live domain. It gives us the option to create staging sites and also monitor changes on either the live site or the staging site and push those back and forth as we need to. Let me just demonstrate how it all works. So we come back into the InstaWP Connect plugin. The first option is called Create Staging, and inside there we have three different types of staging: quick, full, and custom. In this example, we're going to choose the quick staging option, click Next Step, and then that's going to tell us exactly what it's going to transfer over. We'll choose Next Step. This will just confirm what we've chosen, and we'll click on Create Staging. And what that's going to do now is that's going to connect up to the InstaWP account. It's then going to create a new site on there, which is an exact staging duplicate of the site that we have live on the full domain. There we go. After a few moments, you can see now our staging site is created. It gives us all the relevant information. If we hop back over into the InstaWP account and refresh, right at the top, there's our staging site. And we can, of course, simply come into this and we can rename it and save it. Go back to our sites, and there's our test staging site. And of course, we can go and log in and so on from here. I also want to show you that inside Connects, this will show you what sites are connected. You can see there's my live domain, how many staging sites, how many synchronizations, and other information. And if you want to disconnect from here, once you've finished, you can disconnect. So that's all that side of things set up. Jumping back into our live site, if we take a look at our staging site section, you'll see there's our staging site listed, and we can go ahead and log in directly from here. But what I want to look at is the sync section. Now, this is still currently in beta or beta, depending on where you are in the world, so please bear that in mind. Now, you can see we've got the option that says start listening for changes. Once we enable that, that's going to start monitoring this site, the live site, for any changes we make. So let me just show you. If we come into posts, for example, and add a new post, we'll give it a title and we can add whatever other information we want. Doesn't really matter at this point. And we can set this to be draft or published. So let's say we'll save this as a draft and we'll say we're waiting for confirmation. We'll head back out of here, back into our InstaWP plugin. And you can see inside there, under the sync section, it tells us exactly what's happened. A post was created. It's given us the event details, the date and the time, and the status of it. So this is currently pending. In other words, it's created on our actual live site, but hasn't been pushed over to our staging. Let's go ahead and sync. Let's go ahead and see how easy it is. Click on sync. And you see this now, again, asks us where do we want to sync it to. And then underneath, it'll tell us exactly what's going to happen, the stages of it. And if you want to put a message in, you can add that in the message section. Then we'll click on sync. And you see that's now packing things, pushing the information over, and then finally it'll merge it to the destination. And there we go, sync completed. You can tell that's now been set as completed. And if we hop over into InstaWP, let's go ahead and log into our test staging site. Head into our posts. And you can see there's our sample post for test staging set as draft status. So it's pushed that over from the live site to the staging site. We can also do it in reverse. We can create things on our staging site and push those to the live site. But at the moment, nothing is being monitored. So what we need to do is come into our tools in InstaWP Connect. We'll come into our sync settings and we'll say listen for changes. Once that's been done, now that's started to listen for changes. You'll see at the top of the screen, it says recording. This is now monitoring things. So let's go into our posts, go into all posts, and we'll just change this. We'll quick edit this and we'll set this to be live. So it's published and update. Now nothing is going to happen because we haven't synchronized. We haven't pushed this change over to our live site. So again, if we come back into InstaWP, you can see there's our post created. It gives us the information. It's pending. We can click on sync. We'll say post published and click on sync. And again, that's going to pack, push, and merge with the destination or the live site. And that's completed. So you can see it tells us being completed, the time, date, all those kinds of things. It's still recording, so it's still monitoring for changes. Come back go to our live site, go into our posts. And there's our sample post for test staging. And you can see this is now live. Again, if we come in and quick edit this, you can see this is published. So those changes are easily being pushed back and forth. But now it's not limited to just posts and pages. If you add or change or delete plugins, it'll do the same thing. So let's go into our plugin section and add something new. Let's say for some reason we want to install the classic editor. We'll install it and activate it. Come back into the InstaWP Connect plugin, and again you can see now we've got plugin installed and plugin activated, so two different events. And again, let's click on sync, but before we do, let's just quickly hop back over to our staging site. We'll go into our plugin section, and you can see just the InstaWP Connect plugin is installed. Go to our live site, we'll synchronize this, add a message, and sync. And there we go, a sync is now completed. Everything has been updated accordingly. So again, let's hop over into our staging site. You can see currently InstaWP Connect is the only plugin. Let's refresh. And there's our classic editor installed and activated. But as you can see, this is a great example of how easy it is to create staging sites, synchronize that information back and forth between the staging site and or the live site or vice versa. Now, this is something that's going to be expanded upon, so more tools, more functions are going to be absorbed into this functionality as this moves forward, so it is going to get more powerful than it is right now, and I think it's already pretty useful. But that kind of rounds up what I wanted to cover in this sponsored video by InstaWP. Hopefully it's demonstrated some of the key features of why you may want to absorb this into your workflow and maybe give you understanding of why it's become so important in my day-to-day running of my business and creating content for YouTube, tutorials, and so much more. As always, all applicable links are in the description. My name is Paul C. This is WPTuts, and until next time, take care.